people to file on in. I'm going to talk through what I'm doing, trying to save, in the interest of saving time, trying to make sure not to say everything so many times. So I'm going to talk about what my priorities are and what I'm going to do on this slate. The biggest question mark for me is exactly how healthy Gaussman is. He's missed a couple. Well, he's missed, let's be realistic about it. What has it been? 2 starts, so 10 days, 12 days since he got hit in the foot. I think pitching against this incredibly weak KC roster is really appealing, especially at 8,600 on DK. I think that's probably where I'm going to be the heaviest on my pitching, even with the concerns, along with Rodon. But I really do like Gaussman, and I really like the Blue Jays. And the Blue Jays I don't think are going to be anything sneaky anymore. The run total jumped when we see the. Can we just say for a second we can say who the best teams and the worst teams are? Is the dumbest team in the MLB KC? Are they really that stupid? Like, I don't care. Like, I don't care what your personal beliefs are or whatever. At some point, if you're gonna try to make a living and be a successful baseball team, you can't have your whole team not be vaccinated and expect to go travel places. We learned this with Kyrie in basketball, and now we have to go through it in baseball again. And it's just really stupid. But I'm having a very hard time not getting to a ton of Blue Jays here, and with Gaussman as a pitcher. So that's where my priorities start on this slate: are Gaussman and the Blue Jays playing against a AAA team, basically. And maybe you could even say some of the guys AA. I think your next stop is Atlanta, and they're going to be fairly popular. I think the Dodgers are extremely viable against Hudson, kind of pitcher they should have some luck with, especially on DraftKings. They're going to be very low owned because of the pricing and the lack of having really, really gone off and taken down a slate. So those are my priorities: are the Jays 1, Braves 2, Dodgers 3, and then I will be mixing in Cleveland and Houston, especially Houston, as my priority stacks tonight. My other pitchers, I said Rodon and Gaussman. I like McKenzie, Carrasco. I like an unowned Gray today, Sonny Gray. I think that he's getting a little too overlooked on this slate. And then I'm gonna go for some dumpster diving with a little bit of Cutter Crawford and a little bit of Keegan Thompson. No one's gonna play this, and I just think there is some reasonable chance. Look at Keegan. I mean, Keegan Thompson has been really good. His pitches are up in the mid 80s now in terms of total pitches. He's flashed some pretty good strikeout stuff with 7 or more strikeouts in 4 out of his last 5 games, and he's 5,800, which allows you to pay up for those bats that I was talking about. So I really think that's a really good way to go. But I don't think there's a whole lot of ways to go crazy wrong at pitching because there's so many good options. Now, some of the guys are going to have down games, but I'm mostly siding with, outside of Rodon and Gaussman, who will be the most popular, I'm mostly going to side with the guys who are going to be a little lower on, the Framber Valdez, the Cutter Crawford. I mentioned Keegan Thompson, Carlos Carrasco. I do like McKenzie and Cortez as well as Burns, but those guys are going to be a little bit more popular. So that's what I've got for right now. Pop in your questions. Let us know when you're here, whenever you get a chance, and we'll talk about we'll talk through everything, because I really, really like the idea of just keeping it tight today, overloading my bats with Toronto, the Dodgers, and the Braves, and then mixing in the pieces of Cleveland and Houston. And then I'm just going to mention I'm playing a ton of Jonathan Aranda, who's batting cleanup for the Rays at 2K. And I'm playing a fair bit of Tyler Walls, who's 2,100, and I'm using him mostly at shortstop with Aranda. You should see pretty high ownership on Cano. I think this is a totally legitimate pivot, considering one's batting cleanup, Cano's batting 8th. I understand I like the Atlanta stack, so keep Cano in those. But I do think playing some Aranda and Walls makes some sense for some value. And DK, Gaussman, Edmund, or Wright Espinal? That really depends on the rest of your lineup. So you're not playing Espinal as a one-off. You're obviously playing as a stack. So if it's a Blue Jays stack, no matter what, Gaussman is the answer for me. I'm fine with Wright at low ownership, but I would rather play Gaussman against a AAA team. I don't look at 2v2s with a pitcher and one hitter unless they're part of stacks, so I can't really answer that question, because Espinal, you're never playing Espinal as a one-off. Tommy Edman, I wouldn't highly recommend as a one-off either, so I don't know. Tommy Edman's been absolutely horrendous this season, especially lately. I have no problem if you want to play him. I don't see it as like a spot where I'm trying to get Tommy Edman into the lineups. I have whatever 30 lineups. I don't think I have Tommy Edman in one, but if you want to play him, I have no problem with it. I just don't see that as being a decision because it all depends on what you're stacking. So you're only playing Espinal in your stacks. You're not taking a one-off batting eighth for the Blue Jays. So that's the answer to that question, I guess. Hey, sounds good to me, Sharks. And by the way, yeah, I do have my 888. My worst guy is +1, and that's Homa. But I have my second highest owned player, Taylor Gooch, at 42%. I think I have him at, and he is having a great tournament so far. 4 under for the day, only 4% owned. Gotta love that. Cam Smith is my third highest owned player, and he's 5 under, which is beautiful. And then hopefully we can get Fleetwood doing his Fleetwood thing where he makes the cut by 1 or 2 strokes, and then he kills it on the weekend and ends up for the top 5 for you or something like that. That's what I'm hoping for out of Fleetwood. And if those guys do well, I should have a pretty good tournament. I didn't get the note that Eric Van Rooyen and Justin Rose were out. I don't know how I missed that note. So I do have like 18% or some of my lineups are just dead. And that's kind of frustrating because I like both those guys as long shot plays, but I didn't get that word. So, and it's weird because I was up till 1 watching the World Series of Poker and I didn't notice it. So that's a little weird. So, and going over to FanDuel, just talking about some things, I do think Burns is the number 1 pitcher over there, but I like using some Gausman also. But I think that Burns is your number 1 guy. Maybe for me, because I'm not playing him at all on DK, and the savings, he's basically the prices are so close between he and Rodon. I think you just play for, I guess, the highest upside, but I still prefer Rodon today. So I'm sort of stuck on that one. I don't mind which one of those 3 you choose, Gausman, Rodon, or Gausman, Rodon, or Burns. I would only use those guys. I don't mind if you want to go down and try and take a shot on the cutter on the the Red Sox pitcher. Why his name is Cutter Crawford. But that's the only other guy I would consider over there. I just like the prices on everybody else. I like those. It's pretty easy to get everything in. Oh, they didn't withdraw till a few hours after lock. That's even worse. I didn't even miss anything. I thought I made a mistake. I didn't even make the mistake, and they did that. Thanks for letting me know, Brendan. I appreciate that. That's brutal. I hate that shit. And I even played those of you who saw my post in our Discord, I showed that I played like 28% Paul Casey, and he hasn't withdrawn yet. He's -1 for the day. I'll take a bunch of -1s after day 1 on this field, especially for the guys who've played later in the day. Pop on in your thoughts. Pop on in any questions. I do think this is a unusually really fun, lots of avenues kind of a slate, which we don't usually get that, right? Like we're used to playing the big slates with a million different options, but not usually these littler slates where they're just everybody. I just feel like there's a lot of interesting ways to go pitching wise. And I feel like while I'm trying to keep a tight core for my stacks, I'll do my usual thing where I say the stack that I don't have that I'm most afraid of not having. And that's probably Minnesota. But I'm okay with it. I'm okay with fading a Minnesota team that, as I look right now, should get a little bit of ownership, more than some of the teams that I'm playing. But yeah, they're probably the one that I fear not playing the most, that I don't have exposure to. I have pretty much exposure to everybody else that I want. I didn't fully stack Cleveland anywhere because they're a little too popular for my liking as a full stack, but I like them for pieces in my low-owned Dodgers stack, for example, or in my 3-3-2 Dodgers and I know everybody else hates when I do that, but I love it. I think it's great, and I've won plenty of tournaments doing it, so I'm not going to have anything for that. So I have no problem with my 3-3-2 Atlanta. I'm sorry, Dodgers, Blue Jays, or Dodgers, Atlanta, and Cleveland 2-man or something like that with Ramirez and Nolan or something like that, eating a little bit of chalk there. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Brandon. That's just ridiculous. Like I don't think this is right at all. I think it's a really messed up thing. I think if there are still guys left to play, and even if they're cheaper or whatever, you should automatically be able to substitute for withdrawals. I think you should do the same thing if games are postponed for any non-weather related issues. COVID last year, we've had that happen before a couple times. COVID the year before, for that matter. Probably COVID again this year. We'll see. Marky Mark's asking my top 2 FanDuel pitchers right after I went through my top FanDuel pitchers. It's Burns and Rodon. That's simple as that. I'm sorry. Burns, Gausman, Rodon are all right there with me. I do like Gausman quite a bit today. And I think he's going to still get some ownership on FanDuel, even though his price is up there. I think I'm taking a look real quick. I've got him. It's a little surprising to me that he's quite as high owned on FanDuel as he is, but I think that it's a good play. So those are going to be my three. I don't think you need to get crazy creative if you want to. Cutter Crawford would be my creative guy. Tristan McKenzie would be interesting. Nobody on earth I don't think is going to play Kyle Wright or Nestor Cortez over there. I think that's a get weird type of thing, or a Sonny Gray, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm not playing enough lineups to get to those other borderline-ish plays where I feel good about those guys as SP2s on DK. I don't feel as great about them at their prices on FanDuel as on one pitcher sites. Cleveland stack on DK, Mega Chalk, Green Monster coming in with the Mega Chalk as he does. I think Cleveland's going to be very, very high owned today, especially Ramirez, Kwan. Naylor will be medium. Reyes will be medium. Jimenez will be owned, and I think you will have a lot of ownership on Nolan Jones. So those are my sort of. I am not as high on the Cleveland stack as everyone else is. A little bit cooler today. They're totally fine. They're completely fine. I just have them behind the other stacks, and they're going to be popular. So it's even more of a reason not to play them. Sorry about that. All right, let's keep going through it. I'm going to look at just get out some player ownership. I've got about 30% Kirk. I've got like 55% Guerrero, which is more than I like for a hitter, so I'll definitely have to lessen that a little bit. Matt Olson being the other one, not getting too crazy with it. I do have some Gurriel and some Astro stacks. I'm using Aranda the most, and Cano I'm spending down at second base because I want to play some decent pitching, and I want to spend all the way up for some hitters. So I am playing some Aranda, and I am playing some Cano. Altuve is the guy I'm spending up for. Third base, Matt Chapman is probably my favorite play. Munson Dodger stacks, Ramirez is a great play, but will be really popular. Tyler Walls is going to be in a number of my shortstop positions. Another place we can save. Trey Turner is my favorite. Jeremy Pena would be after Trey Turner as a spend-up. Acuna is my favorite spend-up outfielder, followed by Springer. I have a lot of Rosario as well. I think you can easily make that Adam Duvall. I like Jake Lamb as a spend down, especially in Dodger stacks, Mookie in Dodger stacks, Jake Myers in Houston stacks, Nolan Jones. If you want to do a mini stack like I'm doing with Cleveland, the 2 and 3 man, that's what I've got there. Teoscar, I've got quite a bit of. Bellinger, I've got some of. Basically, it's going to be the teams that I mentioned that I'm going to be most heavy on, obviously. So that's where I'm at. What's up, Sam? I haven't seen Sam in a little bit. Good to see you, buddy. And let's see if there's any more questions. If there's no more, I'm going to get to it and finish building my lineups. But, hey, I'm here. So let's use the time. Let's talk about some plays. Tell me something that I'm wrong about. Tell me something I'm not seeing. Tell me something that that you disagree with. I'm happy to hear anything. I'd love to just shoot the breeze with you guys. We only got 2 more days of baseball. Then we got some time off. What are we going to do with our time off? Yeah. Toronto stack on DK with 10 keys. Yeah, absolutely. I'm playing Toronto. That's the number 1 stack for me. Please phrase questions or statements. I just don't know sometimes whether or not someone wants is a question or a statement. So if it's a statement, just leave it the way it is. That's fine. But if it's a question, just let me know because I'll try to answer it better for you. I didn't mention much about Kyle Wright, but I do think he's completely viable, by the way. I think he's a very solid play. You can play him with Gaussman, actually. I don't think you're going to get much ownership on Kyle Wright at all. We know he's got a high enough ceiling, and he's a good enough pitcher against this Washington team to get through it. I'm going to really quickly go through and see my pitcher. We don't have anything too extreme except for Sonny Gray. Unfortunately, we've got the extreme hitters umpire in Alfonso Marquez, which does make me feel a little more nervous about not having Minnesota, but I'm not enough to where I'm going to change my lineups right now. Yeah, absolutely. Jeremy Lamb is going to be platoon. You don't even question it with these guys. But it's not 100%. They're not necessarily going to bring a lefty out of the bullpen, by the way, to pitch to Will Smith. That part of the lineup, you got Will Smith at 4, then you got Justin Turner. So then are they going to bring in a lefty to pitch to those guys? Doesn't seem very likely. But you do have the 2 lefties after him, so it depends on how the inning goes. But yeah, absolutely pinch hit risk for Jake Lamb, no question about it. And not a guy you should be looking for as a one-off anyway. A guy you probably wanted more in your stacks. But yeah, Jeremy Lamb is absolutely not free from pinch hit risk. Not even a little bit. So there is certainly risk there, but they're up by 6 runs. They probably aren't going to change a lot. Maybe if the bases are loaded or something and they bring a lefty in, then you get pinch hit for him, I guess. But I don't think there's any guarantee that he's getting pinch hit for. But there's certainly probably, I would say, at least 30% or so of risk on him. But again, that could be late in the game after he's already got 10 fantasy points at 2,400. That's still reasonable. I'm not using him in my FanDuel stacks where I can only play 4, but I am using him in some of my DraftKings stacks. But yeah, he's definitely a pinch hit risk for sure, as Muncy and Bellinger are hitting behind him. So if the 6, 7, 8 are leading off an inning, then you might see a lefty come in and they might pitch it for him because they're probably not going to pitch it for Bellinger or Muncy. So that feels like pretty much it, guys. I'm making sure why this air conditioning is not working because it is where I am 103 degrees. Let's get that air. Maybe the air conditioning just got scared by it or something. And I had to get that air on. Jeez, it's getting hot in here. Tank top Thursdays. That's what it is. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to bounce. I want to wish everybody luck tonight. And again, to reiterate, Gaussman, Rodon on DraftKings, Gaussman, Rodon, or Burns on FanDuel, Dodgers, Braves, and Toronto in the reverse order. Toronto, then the Braves, and the Dodgers for me. NFL DFS coming back September 11th. It feels weird to celebrate something September 11th, by the way. My grandfather has an art studio in the main street here in Santa Barbara, and he just got it, and it's on 911 State Street. So, hey, if you're ever in town, stop by his studio. But, something that it feels weird to celebrate things on 9/11, right? Nice to have the NFL back, though, no matter what day it is. And, anyway. It's exciting. I'm excited to get the NFL going again. Baseball is, it's really fun when you're winning, and then you just have days where you have certain players outscore your whole teams. It's just a crazy variant game. Whereas the NFL is wild variants too, but much, much less than baseball. Nothing's quite like baseball and golf, but baseball even being the most of all of them. All right, guys, good luck to everybody tonight. I hope you crush it. Hope we see some screenshots in the Discord, and let's make some money, y'all. Good luck, everybody.